My fiancée sent me a text out of nowhere basically demanding a bigger diamond. All because her friends were apparently making fun of her ring. My response was short and sweet. Got it. But instead of upgrading, I took that ring right back to the store, got every single penny back, and blocked her number across the board. To be fair, her next big post in the group chat wasn't even about me. Look, I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I was just sitting at my desk eating lunch when this message pops up from Sophia, my 26-year-old fiancée of 3 months, telling me we needed to talk about the ring. She told me her friends wouldn't stop making comments about it, and honestly, she said it was completely humiliating for her. Apparently, her friend Lauren just got a 2-carat rock, and Sophia felt like hers looked like a cheap placeholder next to it, adding that she knew I had the money to do better. Then she threw it in my face that I had just dropped $3,000 on a new gaming PC, so I needed to get out there and upgrade her ring right now. I just sat there staring at my phone screen for a solid minute, completely speechless. And what exactly was this ring she was complaining about? It was a 2-carat VVS 1 clarity, perfectly cut diamond that set me back $8,500. It literally took me 6 months of strict saving to pay for it while she spent the whole year dropping heavy hints about wanting to get engaged. But according to her, wearing it was an absolute embarrassment. So, I typed back a quick, got it, and she immediately replied with a bunch of heart emojis, saying she knew I'd always have her back. She ended it with a love you, babe. But man, I had a completely different plan in mind. I packed up my desk, left work early, and drove straight down to the jewelry store. The manager there instantly recognized me because I just bought the piece from him 2 months ago. He asked me if everything was all right with it, and I told him it was in absolutely perfect condition. Then I told him I needed to do a full return, and I watched his face completely drop as he asked if she didn't like it. I told him no, she absolutely loved it. Well, at least until her friend showed up with a bigger one. He didn't even try to argue or talk me out of it. He just quietly started printing out the paperwork. He let me know a full refund would be credited back to my card within 3 to 5 business days. He did politely ask if I wanted to look at some upgrades, but I told him I was all set, thanked him, and drove straight back to our apartment. I knew Sophia wouldn't be home from work until around 6 in the evening, so I had plenty of time to move. I wasn't even angry or sad about it. My head was just completely clear. It felt exactly like finally figuring out a frustrating coding problem that's been driving you crazy for days. I started packing up my life systematically, grabbing my gaming rig, my clothes, the coffee maker I bought with my own money, and all my books. I left behind absolutely everything we had purchased together as a couple, only taking what was strictly mine. Right before I left, I found the ring box sitting carelessly on her vanity table. Honestly, she only ever wore the damn thing when she wanted to take photos for Instagram anyway. I took out a sticky note, wrote, "Returned for a full refund. You were right, you deserve more. Good luck finding it." Stuck it inside the box, and then blocked her number and all her social media accounts. That same night, I moved into my buddy Mateo's spare bedroom, and by 6:47 p.m., the absolute chaos began. Mateo walked into the room and showed me a text Sophia had just sent him, demanding to know where I was and saying this whole thing wasn't funny. She told him I took the ring and that he needed to make me answer her right that second. Mateo just texted back that I wasn't at his place, and then added, "Hey, wasn't that ring humiliating anyway?" After that, she tried calling his phone 31 times in a row. He completely stopped picking up after the first call because she was screaming so loud, he literally had to hold the phone away from his ear. But guys, this is where the story gets really wild. What do you think about this whole situation so far? Leave a comment with your thoughts because I'd love to know what you would do. Anyway, here's update 1. Sophia's best friend, Lauren, actually tracked me down and reached out to me on LinkedIn. She had to use LinkedIn because she knew I had already blocked her on every other platform. She messaged me saying I needed to know the real story and that this whole mess wasn't entirely Sophia's fault. So we agreed to meet up for a quick cup of coffee. It turns out there was a massive group chat I never knew existed, where Sophia and her 5 closest friends spent their time constantly ranking their boyfriends. They were always comparing who spent the most money, who pulled off the best proposal, and who was the most whipped, even using a literal scoring system. Lauren actually showed me the screenshots on her phone, and it turned out my proposal only got a 6 out of 10. They said the location was cute but way too basic since I took her to the spot where we had our very first date. They also wrote that the ring was decent but too small since it was under 1.5 carats, though they gave me credit for at least getting down on one knee properly. They even criticized my speech, saying it could have been a lot more creative. But the messages that flooded the chat after Lauren got engaged were just straight up brutal, with Sophia complaining that now she looked like the broke one in the group. Her friend Ava chimed in and told her she just needed to force me to upgrade it. Mia added to that, saying guys are easy to manipulate and that Sophia should just claim it needed resizing and swap it out at the store. Then Harper jumped in, saying her sister did that exact same thing by claiming the metal band gave her a terrible rash. Sophia replied telling them they were all brilliant. But here's the real twist to the story. Lauren was only sharing all of this with me because she started seriously questioning her own engagement after seeing how horribly they all talked about the men they supposedly loved. Lauren told me that when I actually returned the ring and walked away, it woke her up and made her realize how toxic they were being, treating their guys like personal ATMs with proposal skills. I looked at her and sincerely thanked her for being honest with me, but I told her it didn't change anything regarding my decision. Later that evening, Sophia actually showed up at Mateo's apartment, and she definitely didn't come alone. She brought her entire group of friends along for backup. Ava, Mia, Harper, and even her sister Chloe. They marched right into the place looking like a literal entitlement task force, and Chloe immediately pulled out her phone and started filming us. Chloe announced to the camera that they were there to confront the guy who abandoned her sister over a simple request. So Mateo pulled out his phone and started recording right back, saying he was filming the intruders who just barged into his private home. Sophia immediately went into full victim mode, crying to me about how I completely humiliated her. I looked at her and asked, "Everyone knows I returned the ring? Everyone who? Your family? Your co-workers? Did you seriously tell everyone that you tried to pressure me into a bigger ring and I left you instead?" Sophia tried to backpedal, claiming she didn't pressure me at all and was just sharing her needs. Right on cue, Ava jumped in and barked that a real man provides for his woman without even being asked, which just made Mateo bust out laughing. Mateo looked right at them and said a real woman actually values her man without constantly making demands. Then Mia tried to force some fake tears, whining that I was completely destroying Sophia and that she'd been crying for days. I looked her dead in the eye and asked if she was crying over losing me, or if she was just crying over losing the ring, which met absolute silence. That's when Harper stepped up and tried to go for the throat, telling me I never deserved Sophia anyway and that she was settling for me from the start. I just smiled and said, "Well, thank God she unsettled then." The entire time, Chloe kept pacing around filming, narrating the whole thing like she was hosting a trashy reality TV show, telling her camera that as everyone could see, I showed absolutely zero remorse for traumatizing her sister. I turned my head, looked straight into her camera lens, and laid it all out. I told her audience that her sister claimed an $8,500 ring was an embarrassment because her friend got a larger one. So I agreed with her and took it back to the store, and now she was throwing a tantrum over the consequences of her own choices. I looked back at Sophia and told her that what she was experiencing wasn't trauma. It was just basic accountability. They finally ended up leaving after a lot more screaming, but not before Sophia turned around and gave me one last ultimatum, telling me if I didn't come back to her with a 2-carat ring by Friday, we were finished for good. I looked at her and told her we were already done, and that I personally ended the relationship the exact moment I returned that ring. She screamed back that I couldn't just end it, because she didn't agree to a breakup, claiming that's not how it works and threatening to sue me for emotional damages. Mateo just snorted out loud and asked her what she was going to sue for, not buying her a bigger diamond, and told her good luck with that as they all stormed out. Chloe ended up posting that video online later that night with a caption calling me a toxic ex who refused to take responsibility for abandoning her sister. But man, that move backfired on them so incredibly hard because the comment section was absolutely brutal. People were writing things like, "She demanded a bigger ring and the guy just walked away? Absolute king move." And "Your sister sounds completely exhausting." Others were asking, "Accountability for what? Not acting as her personal ATM?" I'm 100% team ex-boyfriend. The backlash was so bad she ended up deleting the entire video within 2 hours. Which brings us to update 2, where the sheer entitlement reached a whole new level. First, Sophia's mom, Karen, called up my phone. She had the absolute nerve to tell me how incredibly disappointed she was in me, saying their family had welcomed me with open arms. I stopped her right there and told her they welcomed my bank account and that there was a massive difference between the two. She snapped back that Sophia simply has high standards because she was raised to expect the absolute best out of life. So I told her I was raised to spot gold diggers from a mile away. She gasped and asked how I could dare say that when Sophia loved me so much. But I told her Sophia only loved what I could buy for her, and proved it by pointing out how fast that love disappeared the second the money stopped flowing. She wrapped up by telling me I was being completely immature, and that I just needed to buy the new ring so everyone could move on. I just took a deep breath and told her, "Ma'am, I would honestly rather buy 2 carats of dirt." She slammed the phone down on me, but not before throwing out some dramatic threat about how she was going to completely ruin my life. I'm not entirely sure how a retired librarian planned on pulling that off, but hey, whatever helps her sleep at night. Then came the absolute theatrical performance. Sophia started blasting social media with all these sob stories about being cruelly abandoned by the one person she trusted, throwing around buzzwords like narcissistic abuse. She began posting old photos of us together, adding captions like, "I really thought he was the one," and "When someone shows you their true colors, believe them. My brother was the one keeping an eye on it and texting me the screenshots." Honestly, I didn't give a damn about any of it until she posted a picture of the diamond with a caption that read, "Imagine being told by the man you love that your entire worth is only $8,500. Man, that right there really got under my skin." So, I decided to post my first social media update in months, sharing a direct screenshot of her text where she demanded a bigger diamond because her friends were mocking her. I captioned it, "Imagine thinking someone's worth as a human being is tied to the size of a rock on their finger." It racked up over 500 likes in under an hour, and Sophia's post vanished from the internet real quick. But the real fireworks started when she found out I actually got all the money back for the wedding. See, we had been planning this big destination wedding, and I had already put down all the deposits for the venue, the photographer, and the caterer entirely on my personal credit card. It added up to about $12,000 in total, and I went ahead and canceled every single contract, managing to claw back most of the money except for about $2,000 in non-refundable fees, which was a small price to pay for my freedom. Sophia found out the exact second the venue coordinator called her phone to formally confirm the cancellation. She went absolutely ballistic, to the point where she actually showed up at my corporate office, forcing security to step in and escort her off the premises. But right before they pushed her out the doors, she screamed across the entire lobby for everyone to hear, "That was my wedding money. You literally stole my wedding." My coworkers were just standing there completely stunned, and my boss, Javier, came over afterward to check on me and ask if I was doing all right. I looked at him and said, "Honestly, yeah, it's the best decision I've ever made in my life." Javier smiled and asked, "The part where you returned the ring, or the part where you blocked her?" And I told him it was the part where I finally saw her true colors. That very afternoon, I got officially served with court papers. It turned out she was actually suing me in small claims court for the canceled wedding deposits, emotional distress, breach of a verbal contract, and financial abuse, demanding a grand total of $25,000. I literally laughed out loud right in front of the process server when he handed me the envelope, and immediately called up my cousin who works as an attorney. He took a look over the paperwork and told me it was hands down the most ridiculous legal case he had ever seen in his career, pointing out she was literally suing me for not marrying her after she insulted the ring I bought. He told me to immediately file a counterclaim for civil harassment. So that's exactly what I did. Which brings us to update 3. The day in court was absolutely surreal. Sophia actually showed up to the courtroom wearing a full-blown white dress, like she was trying to make some kind of dramatic visual statement to the room. For her evidence, she submitted screenshots of our text exchanges, which ironically included her demanding the bigger ring, along with photos of us looking happy, receipts for bridal gear she bought like her dress and shoes, and a literal spreadsheet calculating the projected lifetime earnings she lost by not marrying me. The judge, an older woman who looked like she had seen absolutely everything and was completely done playing games, reviewed the file. She looked up and said, "Ms. Sophia, you are seriously suing this man because he called off a wedding?" Sophia piped up and said, "He promised he would marry me, and then he completely ditched me over a simple request." The judge looked back at her and said, "The request where you demanded a more expensive ring because your friends were making fun of the first one? That request?" Sophia tried to argue that the text was being taken out of context, but the judge shut her down, asking what possible context could ever make that okay, while the rest of the courtroom tried to choke back their laughter. Then Sophia's mom took the stand as her star witness. She told the court that I had deeply traumatized her daughter and that she had been forced to go to therapy over it. The judge asked her exactly when Sophia started this therapy, and the mom admitted it was just last week. The judge looked at her and clarified, "So, right after she filed this lawsuit?" And the mom had to mutter, "Yes." My evidence, on the other hand, was incredibly straightforward. I handed over the text demanding the upgrade, the jewelry store receipts showing the purchase and the full refund, documentation of the constant harassment, and the video her sister Chloe posted of them forcing their way into Mateo's apartment. The judge took about 10 minutes to look everything over before delivering her final word. She looked straight at Sophia and said, "Ms. Sophia, you do not have a case here. You cannot legally sue someone for ending a relationship, even if it's an engagement. You cannot sue him to recover wedding deposits that he paid for out of his own pocket. And you certainly cannot claim emotional distress when your own text messages prove you were the one who initiated the entire conflict. Case dismissed." Sophia couldn't believe it and started whining. "But what about my dress?" The judge just looked at her coldly and said, "You chose to buy a dress. That was your personal choice, and he didn't force you to do it." Sophia then started screaming that the ruling was completely sexist, but the judge just replied, "No, this is called consequences. Case dismissed means we are finished here." But then we had to handle my counterclaim. The judge flipped through the stack of harassment evidence I provided, noting the 31 rapid-fire calls to Mateo, the public scene she caused at my office, the toxic social media posts, and the threatening text messages from her family. She looked over at me and said, "Mr. Opie, I am granting your request for a restraining order. MS. Sophia and her immediate family members are legally required to stay at least 500 feet away from you and cease all forms of contact, and any violation will result in immediate criminal charges." Sophia completely lost her mind right there in court, sobbing and screaming, "You can't do this to me. I loved him." The judge just looked down at her and said, "That is a very odd way of showing love. We are officially adjourned." Once we got outside the building, her mom, Karen, tried to corner me one last time. She yelled at me that I had completely ruined her daughter's reputation and that no decent man would ever marry her now. I just looked at her calmly and said, "That's not true at all. Someone out there will absolutely marry her. They just won't have a single clue what they're actually signing up for until it's way too late." Exactly like what almost happened to me. Meanwhile, Chloe was standing right there filming the whole interaction again. She sneered at her camera lens and said, "This is exactly what happens when weak men simply can't handle strong, independent women." I looked right into her camera and corrected her, saying, "No, this is exactly what happens when entitled people finally have to face the real-world consequences of their actions." My buddy Mateo, who had come along to the courthouse to back me up, leaned into the frame and added, "Yeah, and by the way, your sister owes me a brand new rug because her cheap knockoff heels completely trashed my floor." Which brings us to the final update. Life got pretty wild after our day in court. Sophia tried to sneakily bypass the restraining order by getting our mutual friends to send me messages on her behalf. But man, that behavior stopped real quick the second I politely reminded those friends that acting as a third-party contact for someone under a legal restraining order is a crime. Not long after that, their entire little friend group completely imploded from the inside out. Lauren, the friend who had originally spilled the tea to me at the coffee shop, ended up calling off her own engagement after her fiancé saw the screenshots of their scoring system, which had officially become a matter of public record during my court case. Once the secret was out, the remaining girls turned on each other like wild animals. Ava's boyfriend dumped her on the spot after reading the texts where she rated him a bare minimum 7 out of 10, noting he was only worth keeping around because he had decent savings. Mia's boyfriend found out she was actively planning to baby trap him just to secure her own financial future. And Harper's boyfriend discovered she had a literal backup guy on the side that she was actively grooming in case things fell through. The entire group chat ended up getting fully leaked to the public when Harper posted all the screenshots online, trying to blame the other girls for getting her exposed in the first place. It turned out they had been running this chat for years, systematically rating the men they dated, plotting emotional manipulations, and sharing strategic tips on how to extract the most expensive gifts out of them. But the absolute sweetest taste of karma hit Sophia at her job. She worked in corporate marketing, and her firm wasn't exactly thrilled when they realized one of their employees was going viral across the internet for gold-digging entitlement. They didn't outright fire her, but they stripped her of her title and demoted her to a quiet, back-office role with absolutely zero client contact. She tried to get back out there on the dating apps, but without fail, guys would instantly recognize her as the infamous ring girl and unmatch her immediately. Meanwhile, my life took a major turn for the better when I started dating a girl named Emma, who actually works as a librarian and whom I met totally by chance at a local coffee shop. On our very first date, she absolutely insisted that we split the check 50-50. On our second date, she invited me over and cooked an incredible dinner at her apartment from scratch. By the time our third date rolled around, she stumbled across a massive thread about all the drama and looked at me, saying, "Wait a minute, this is actually you? This is hilarious. Your ex-girlfriend was completely out of her mind. We've been happily together for 8 months now." She proudly wears a simple $50 silver ring that I bought for her at a local craft fair because she genuinely fell in love with the artisan design. She even posted a picture of it online. It's absolutely perfect. There's no carat counting, no comparing ourselves to others, just pure, genuine gratitude. But you want to know the best update of all? Just last week, Lauren reached out to me out of the blue, saying she thought I'd want to know the latest news. It turns out Sophia just got engaged to some self-proclaimed crypto bro she met out in Miami. She's been posting nonstop on her profiles about her massive new 3-carat ring, but the entire comment section is just flooded with laughing emojis because literally everyone knows the rock is a total fake. Both the diamond and her new fiancé's supposed crypto wealth are a total sham. I actually checked out her profile out of pure curiosity, and man, that ring was huge. Suspiciously huge. It's the exact kind of rock that either costs $80,000 or $80 on a budget website. And considering her new tycoon fiancé drives a beat-up 2007 Toyota Corolla and lives in an apartment with 3 roommates, I'm putting my money on the $80 option. Her mom, Karen, actually left a comment on the post saying, "I am so happy my baby finally got exactly what she deserves." And honestly, yeah, she really did. My brother completely nailed it when he told me, "Man, you didn't just dodge a bullet there. You managed to dodge an entire military armory." My lawyer cousin actually took my return receipt from the jeweler, framed it, and hung it up in his office right next to his actual law degree, calling it Exhibit A of why you always keep your receipts. Mateo still tells the entire story to anyone who will listen at parties, and his absolute favorite part to recap is when the girls tried to blame him for enabling my behavior. His go-to response is always, "Hey, I simply enabled him to not marry a certified gold digger. You're welcome." As for that $8,500 I got back from the ring return, I took half of it and put it straight into my investment portfolio and used the other half to fund a solo backpacking trip across Iceland. I posted just one single photo from the entire trip, and Sophia's sister Chloe viewed my story within 10 minutes of it going live, despite the fact that I had already blocked her main account. I guess she went out of her way to create a burner account just to snoop on my life. Is it sad? No, not really. Is it completely pathetic? Absolutely. Every now and then, someone will ask me if I have any regrets about how the whole thing went down. My only real regret is that I didn't spot the massive red flags a lot sooner in the relationship, like when she started asking me about my corporate bonus structure on our literal second date. Or the time she threw a tantrum because I bought her beautiful daisies instead of expensive orchids, complaining that orchids pop a lot better for photos on Instagram. Or when she flat out told me to my face, "Your money is our money, but my money is strictly mine." If anyone listening out there is going through something similar right now, take it from me. When someone goes out of their way to show you who they truly are, believe them the very first time. When a person looks you in the eye and tells you that an $8,500 ring is an absolute embarrassment because her friend got a larger one, that conversation isn't actually about the ring. It's a direct look into their true priorities in life. And Sophia, since I know for a fact you're lurking on this post right now from some fake burner account, your new crypto king just posted online about his NFT project completely tanking. Good luck with that 3-carat cubic zirconia, babe.